Hey gang, it's Professor Wagner again with part 2 of our pig dissection. We're going to start kind of at the top and work our way down. So what we see here is actually this big muscular piece of tissue. That's actually the larynx. And if you look closely on either side, you can kind of see this glandular material. That's actually parts of the thymus, and the thymus actually extends further down over the part of the heart. Remember, the thymus is larger in infancy and childhood than it is in adulthood. It's the same sort of thing with pigs. As we go further down, on the very just below the larynx, above the trachea, we have this kind of lump of tissue. That's actually the thyroid gland. And if we move that all out of the way, just behind that, you can actually see the rings of the trachea, and just behind that, we have our esophagus running right behind it. So you can actually see the esophagus here. So I kind of lift it up. As we head further down, you'll see the heart. It's pretty easy to see this kind of membranous material right here, very tough. It's actually the pericardium that we can see. As we open this up, and can see the heart a little bit better, you can see right here, that would be your pulmonary trunk. That would be your left atrium and auricle, and your right atrium and auricle here. So this would be our right ventricle, and this would be our left ventricle. You can see the little apex of the heart. Flanking the heart on either side are the lungs. So you can see very, very kind of spongy type material on either side. So these would be the lungs. The aorta, if you want to really move things apart, you actually see the superior vena cava there that comes down into the right atrium. But the aorta is right behind everything, so it's kind of hard to see. You can actually see a little bit of it right here in that area. All right, as we head further down, this big mass of tissue here is actually the liver. If we reflect the liver up a little bit, see that kind of green indentation in the liver? That's actually the gallbladder. Now, you'll see this vein, this blood vessel running right up into the liver. This is actually coming from the umbilical cord here. So that's the umbilical vein that brings oxygen and nutrient-rich blood from the placenta into the fetal pig itself. The umbilical arteries are further down. So the umbilical arteries are actually on either side of this big organ here, which I've split open a little bit so you can see a little bit of the rugae. This is actually the urinary bladder. It's a very large, kind of balloon-shaped structure. And then on either side flanking it are the umbilical arteries. So this would be the left umbilical artery, and then this right here, if I reflect a little bit, this would be the right umbilical artery. All right, some other organs of the abdominal cavity. If I move the liver up out of the way again, here you can see the stomach. And then right over here, this little structure right here, this would be the spleen. This large kind of spiral-shaped mass of tissue is actually your, essentially would be in your large intestine. This would be a spiral colon in the pig. So it's equivalent of kind of your transverse colon in your digestive system. You can see it's actually still kind of a little bit full of feces. All the little coils are actually the small intestines. And if I lift them up and spread them out a little bit, you can see the tissues that make up the mesenteries. So you can see that very thin membranous tissue. Those would be the mesenteries. As we go a little bit further down, we're not quite to reproduction yet, but we're getting there. So what we actually see here is part of the pig's penis, which goes further up and would essentially protrude from its sheath right at this point when it becomes erect as an adult. And then down here, we can actually see the testicle covered in a bit of connective tissue as well. All right, so I have to get some other stuff out of the way before we can look at some of the urinary system structures. So we'll take a break right there.